With Stephen A. Smith, this guy has no clue about racing. If you don't know anything about racing, just keep your opinion to yourself.
Rally drivers are a different breed. Bravery beyond bravery.
The crowd reaction for Cleetus McFarland was unbelievable.
Why does he divide the fan base?
There is a showman piece of what you are responsible for. You can either lean into that or you can just be one of the other guys.
I like that we're always on the same wavelength.
I love it.
Welcome to Speed with Harvick and Buxton, fueled by Poet.
Let's talk racing, Will.
A lot of news going on in NASCAR this weekend. Aside from what was going on track, you've had a massive shakeup in NASCAR right at the top of the sport.
Yes, Steve O'Donnell has been named a CEO of NASCAR, with Jim France stepping down as CEO and still chairman of the board. Ben Kennedy will be the COO of NASCAR. So quite the change at the top of the leadership from the NASCAR side. Steve O'Donnell has been around the sport for 20-some years, 30-some years, been there a long time. And I think when you look at the direction that our sport has gone over the last 10 years and you know, with everything that we're doing from a perception standpoint, marketing standpoint, to try to get back to the roots of who we are as NASCAR, I think Steve will do a great job at that, because he's seen the sport change and evolve and all the things that have happened throughout the years. So it's definitely a change that I think will be welcomed, and I think that spending a lot of time with Steve and the NASCAR folks this weekend, it's definitely something to where they're very open-minded and know that there are a lot of things that need to be addressed and worked on, and very bullish about the future. So I'm excited to see what Steve can do.
Kevin, the France name is one that resonates across motorsport, but particularly in NASCAR. You talk about the sport needing to go back to its roots, needing to rediscover itself, and yet the France family is the roots of the sport. So what will this change mean, sort of realistically? I don't know NASCAR like you know NASCAR. How were the decisions made? How important is this appointment in terms of altering and affecting the direction? Is it very much one person at the top who sets the direction and can make change happen? Does it have to go through a board? Is there a process? Like, I don't know the politics of NASCAR at all.
Well, I think that the depth of the top of the chain needed to be worked on. And I think that after we went through the lawsuits and all the things that happened with Steve Phelps, stepping down as the commissioner, I'm not sure that we needed a commissioner role. And I think that a lot of the focus was trying to be like the NFL and other sports and react to everything. And that's just never been who NASCAR was. And so I really think that hearing them talk on our pre-race show this week, the most everything revolved back to competition and being a part of the competition group, as Ben said, and Steve talking about having that competition group. And I think that getting the on-track product to be what they expect it to be, and all the things that have changed over the years with the Gen 7 car and all the charters and different things that have happened. We've been fortunate to have some good races. There's obviously some places that need to be worked on, and I think that having a fresh set of eyes that is there every week and really a part of knowing the teams and team members and talking to the drivers and having those relationships. We heard Steve talk about that a lot as well. You got to have the relationships and the consistent communication. That's where it kind of has broke down before, was, we'd communicate and then the communication would disappear until the problem popped up again. Let's be proactive and get in front of it. So hopefully that's the direction that we're headed.
Well, NASCAR wasn't the only series with big news. While we were actually taping last week's episode, the FIA announced changes to the F1 regulations. You talk about needing to make a change, if changes need to be made and not simply sticking your head in the sand. So we have got change in Formula One. What are those changes? Well, the press release was about as confusing as it could possibly be at a point in which people just want things to be simplified. But essentially, the basics are they're going to reduce the amount that the cars can recharge, but then they're also going to increase the level at which the super clipping that everybody hates will kick in. So ultimately, it'll be sort of at a higher speed that the engines start to recharge and start to regenerate. There will be a cap placed on boost, which means that you shouldn't get the huge overruns of speed, which we saw, which ultimately led to that Ollie Behrman crash in Suzuka. You're also going to be able to use the MGUK, the motor generator unit kinetic energy. If you get like a poor start, so if your engine essentially isn't spooled up enough, you'll be able to use that as kind of like a get out of jail free card. Those are sort of the headline changes. And look, I've been very down on F1's regs for this year, and I think with cause. But I think you also have to sort of take your hat off and recognize when people make a change. Because they've seen that things aren't quite as they needed to be. So I have to sort of, have to recognize Formula One, the FIA, the drivers, the teams, who've all come together. And change in Formula One, as we know, change in motorsport, mate, it's glacial speeds. It never happens quickly. So for them to do it this fast in the 1 month break that they've had before Miami and to implement these things in time for the next race, like, bravo. Will it be a cure-all to everything we've seen? I doubt it, but at least they've made some changes.
100%.
And you've got to applaud them for that.
Exactly what I was talking about, like from the NASCAR side as well. You've got to be willing to make those hard decisions, and they can say all the things that they want to about the racing, but in the end, nobody really liked it. And to be bold enough to go out there and make those changes, they kind of got a gift in an unfortunate way of having a longer break than what they expected at the beginning of the year, and they have made good use of it. And I'm like you, I love Formula One. I like to watch Formula One, follow it. But you're just never going to be successful when the drivers are getting out of the car and have the opinion that they have about the racing. And I think that whether the drivers like it or not, they better respect the sanctioning body and the things that they did, because we're in unforeseen situations here with F1 making these changes so early in the season, in my opinion, from the outside looking in.
Well, listen, I think something we can all agree is a huge positive for Formula One. Also in the news this week, the Turkish Grand Prix at Istanbul Park will return to the schedule in 2027. It hosted F1 races between 2005 and 2011, and then returned for 2 races during COVID in 2020 and 2021. One of my all-time favorite tracks. So that, I think, 100% good news in Formula One this week. And finally, for Formula One news, Audi have appointed former Formula One and endurance racer Allan McNish as their racing director, with the Scot beginning his role heading up trackside operations from the Miami Grand Prix onwards. He was my pick. I think I said it on this show, that once Jonathan Wheatley left, get Nishi in. He led the team to success in Formula E, huge history with Audi, great guy. Absolutely top man for the job. So congratulations, Nishi. We are delighted for you and can't wait to see what he does for Audi. Right, Kevin, I want to know everything that happened in Talladega.
Well, the big story in the end was Carson Hocevar gets his first NASCAR Cup Series win, and I think when you look at the expectations that Carson Hocevar has, it is winning. He's put himself in a position to be a part of that conversation. Kid beats to his own path, doesn't care what anybody else thinks. He goes out of his way to do things that are fun for his sponsor in the infield. And I think this is probably one of the most popular wins that we've seen in NASCAR in a long time. And Carson had one of the most unique celebrations that I've ever seen. Looked like Dale Earnhardt wiping his window in 1981 at Richmond. But to his thought process that he had put into all this to engage with the fans is exactly what we need in our sport. And when I looked out the window at that broadcast booth and I saw the fans reacting that weren't the ones throwing the beer cans at him, it was overwhelmingly popular. And I think that Carson is willing to do things that other guys aren't willing to do, whether it's on the racetrack in a celebration, and he's thinking about things from a different perspective of trying to be creative, and you have to give him credit for that. He takes a lot of criticism, and the thing that I've learned about Hocevar is he doesn't care. He's going to stand on the gas, and if he runs you over, he's going to say what he thinks, and he's going to go to the next one. So very popular win, 16 leaders, 51 lead changes. But the big story outside of Hocevar winning was the 26-car pileup that we had in Stage 2. And I think that when you look at that pileup, Bubba Wallace was leading the pack. You had 3 or 4 cars stack up behind him, and when he and Ross Chastain moved up to block that lane, the momentum that was already built up in that middle lane just sent that 23 car up into the wall, and it pretty much wiped out everybody from third or fourth on back throughout the whole field. So some of those cars got prepared. I think there were 7 or 8 that didn't make it back onto the racetrack, but always a defining moment in a Talladega race, and this one was right at the beginning of Stage 2.
Absolutely huge, mate. Yeah, that was that made it, around the internet, not just for NASCAR fans or on NASCAR pages. Everyone was reposting that. It was a biggie. But as you say, Hocevar, the Hurricane, brilliant drive, brilliant win. It feels like, with Reddick, with 2311, with Hocevar, there's this new generation of, be it team, be it driver, as you said, like an exciting time for NASCAR. To have these new heroes for people to really get their teeth into and really, bring out a new generation of fan or a new generation of fandom around them.
Yeah, and you talk Tyler Reddick. He announced that he has signed a new contract with 2311 this weekend, had a new sponsor and Rockstar Energy on his car this weekend. So a lot of things starting to move early on in the season here in the NASCAR world. So we'll see what domino falls next, because there was a lot of chatter before the season started that Reddick could possibly be looking around, but those rumors are gone.
But it wasn't just Hocevar that had his first win. At the weekend.
That's right. We had the ARCA race at Talladega as well, and Andy Jankowiak breaks through and got his first win this weekend. And I hate the fact, I love that Andy won the race. Longtime ARCA competitor, great personality, and been around the sport for a while now. But Cleetus McFarland stole the show. I was in my motorhome, and every time I would see on TV that Cleetus might be getting ready to take the lead, I would go outside the motorhome, because I always like to hear the crowd reaction. That is a crowd reaction I haven't heard since, I haven't heard it in a long time, but when Dale Jr. would be in an Xfinity race or a Busch Series race, and I was there watching, the crowd reaction for Cleetus McFarland was unbelievable this weekend, and he did a great job. Was able to have a chance to win there at the end with the 3-wide pass, and ultimately wound up P2. But what a great weekend all around for all 3 series. Amazing. At Talladega. Well, yeah.
And Andy went from P6 to P1 on that last lap. Like that was. I think he was
6th or 7th right there. And when all the cars started to move around there at the end of the race off of turn 4, you didn't really know what was going to happen. And that's the thing you got to remember about Talladega. The start-finish line is not in the middle of the tri-oval or the middle of the straightaway like most places that we go. It's almost all the way back to turn 1. So you never know how those finishes are going to turn out. And I can't tell you how many races that I've got to turn 4 and I'm like, oh yeah, today's the day. We're going to win another race at Talladega. And I wind up in the ambulance, never saw the start-finish line, passed by however many cars. You just never know what's going to happen from turn 4 to the start-finish line coming to the checkered. But Andy was able to make it happen, and it was fun to watch.
But Cleetus, right, for as brilliant as his drive was, he divides opinion, because you've got people saying, wonderful, brilliant drive of the race, and other people who just people will just dismiss him out of hand. Why does he divide the fan base so much?
I think you have a hardcore fan base who has seen the traditional NASCAR route come up through the ranks and do all those things. But look, we've had people do this for a number of years. Most of them just aren't old enough to remember those things. But I think that when you look at, well, I think you can compare Cleetus and Carson Hocevar. They're showmen, and there is a piece of this sport, and I tell people this all the time. I think SVG does a good job at it. I actually, talk to Keelan about this a lot. There is a showman piece of what you are responsible for from a driver's standpoint. You're there for those fans. You're there to put on a show, and you can either lean into that or you can just be one of the other guys. And Cleetus has a massive following, but Carson leans into it. Cleetus was standing up on top of his car after he finished second. I mean, racing and being able to be successful at it when you haven't grown up around it, and being able to accomplish those things, those are things that people don't get to experience, let alone understand what the amount of time, effort, money that goes into a situation like this. So I think they're just inspiring Cleetus to be able to go out there and show him that he can do it. But there's a lot more people rooting for Cleetus than against him.
You only ever see the negatives online, don't you?
That's right.
Always.
That's right.
On with the news. Leading only the final lap at Talladega, Corey Day captured his first career O'Reilly Auto Parts Series victory for Hendrick Motorsports. The young phenom proved he can win on the big stage, while Justin Allgaier leaves Alabama maintaining a commanding 105-point lead in the standings. Now, Talladega wasn't the only track that Day found success on this week. He also captured a massive win at the spring jackpot of High Limit Racing, where he got redemption after flipping violently while battling for the lead a year ago. In NHRA 4-wide Nationals, defending Top Fuel champion Doug Kalitta picked up his 60th career win and his first of 2026. Kalitta went 342.98 miles an hour in the finals. Whew. That is a track speed record and the third fastest run in NHRA history. Meanwhile, Ron Capps won in Funny Car to notch his 78th career Funny Car victory and his second win of 2026. Matt Hartford won the Pro Stock category to pick up his second win in the first 4 events of 2026, and two-time Pro Stock motorcycle champion Gage Herrera picked up his first win of 2026. Swept the weekend after taking the victory in Saturday's Mission Challenge event as well. Over in Supercross, Ken Roczen held off a late race charge from Cooper Webb to grab his 5th win of the year and snatch the red plate. Roczen now holds a slim 4-point lead over Hunter Lawrence with just 2 races to go. In MotoGP, Alex Marquez claimed a comfortable victory in the Spanish Grand Prix to halt overall leader Marco Bezzecchi's winning streak in MotoGP at the casual 5. Marquez started 5th but dominated the race a year on from his debut win at the same track. Bez had to settle for 2nd and, of course, maintains his championship lead. Over in the World Rally Championship, Sebastian Ogier, on a part-time calendar, survived a duel for the ages with Oliver Solberg in one of the closest rallies seen in decades, with the duo split by mere seconds until the young Solberg crashed on the final day with the finish almost in sight. Elfyn Evans ran home 2nd and takes the points lead in the championship, just 2 points clear of Takamoto Katsuta. In INDYCAR, the championship has announced that only chartered entries will be permitted in races outside the Indy 500 from 2027, capping the field at a maximum of 27 cars. And AJ Foyt Racing has today finally confirmed that Catherine Legg will contest the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500 in a car run by them and HMD Motorsports. The link-up had been rumoured for some time and brings the entries up to the magic number of 33. In the world of outlaws, David Gravel won at the iconic sprint car capital of the world, leading every lap on his way to his 4th win of the year. And the Cars Tour Series returned to action at Caraway Speedway Sunday, where Landon Lewis scored his first victory of the season in the late model stock car division. Craftsman Truck Series driver Caden Honeycutt claimed the pro late model victory. And that is the latest from across the racing world. But there's plenty more to come here on Speed, including my breakdown on Stephen A. Smith's, frankly, ludicrous comments.
Hey, speed fans, this show is fueled by Poet. Poet's zero-carbon bioethanol gives NASCAR drivers the octane they need with zero carbon intensity. When it comes to performance, you can't beat zero. Learn more at poet.com.
Okay, now it's time for Kevin and I to pick the driver or rider who stood out the most across the racing world this week. And man, are we in trouble. Kevin, you and I picked our top drivers, but the fan base, it's not our drivers they're unhappy with. Somehow, the brain trust completely missed out Corey Day and apparently far more egregiously, Andy Jankowiak. Who I think if you look at the bulk of the replies on X, on YouTube, wherever it is that people have voted, I think Andy J is the one that everyone was like, how did you not have him on the list for driver of the week this week? But as I always like to argue, Kevin, it's not necessarily about the winner. You cannot win the race and still be the driver of the day or the weekend. And Cleetus, I think we're arguing, despite not winning, was that drive to second more monumental than a driver's first win? This is the debate. This is why it's an imperfect science. Yeah, I love the debate.
Look, Andy J did a great job, and he's been ARCA racing for a long time. I think Cleetus has had, not very many tries and YouTube sensation, and he had a great drive. So I'm actually leaning towards your second place driver of the week pieces of it this week because Cleetus did a great job and kind of broke out as a surprise.
Cleetus?
I did not pick Cleetus.
Did you pick?
You know who I picked? I picked Carson Hocevar.
Let me guess. Playing to the crowd again.
That's exactly right. But I mean, come on. The guy got his first win and first Cup Series win and had an absolutely awesome
and he got his
celebration.
First ARCA win.
Andy
got his first ARCA win, but he's not even on the list.
I'm going to be the bearer of bad news here. Winning an ARCA race is not winning a Cup race. So you got to kind of take that into consideration here. Winning a Cup Series race is for the first time is a much bigger feat than winning your first ARCA race.
Would he have won it if 26 cars hadn't been involved in a melee in the middle?
Look, when we took the white flag at the Daytona 500, Carson Hocevar had a chance to win. So maybe not, but possibly so.
Dude, back yourself. It's your choice, and I don't think it really matters. Because we know who's going to win this week. My choice was Sebastian Ogier, right? Because look, he's one of the greatest of all time in the World Rally Championship. He's only on a part-time schedule, but to just turn up as he does. I mean, look, he's literally a god when it comes to rallies. Turns up, not just got the job done. But what I loved was him versus Solberg, and they properly pushed each other. And the gap between the two was, I think, less than 5 seconds for pretty much the majority of the rally. And on some stages, they were split by tenths of a second. I think on one stage, they got an identical time. I think I'm right in saying that, or it's close to identical on one stage. Like, it was... Dude, there hasn't been a rally this close, like this hotly contested in like over a decade. It was an unbelievable rally. Two drivers absolutely at the limit, at their peak. Ollie is young, right? He's super, super young. And he just went over the limit and crashed on his own and took himself out of it, which is a real shame because it's another rally that he hasn't scored points in. So now Elfyn Evans is championship leader. Ollie could be, right up there, but he's had a couple of disappointing results now where he hasn't scored. But
I'd be the worst
watching those two go at it, dude, I don't know how they do it. Like,
I don't either.
It's bravery beyond bravery. It's just, they're a different, like, rally drivers are a different breed. And Ogier is like the best of the best. So for me, that was just turn up.
That's a good choice.
And just bang.
I like it.
Amazing.
I like it.
It's a good choice. Not if you listen to our viewers, though. What's the percentages this week, guys? Of course,
70%.
Yeah, I mean, of course it's Carson. 70%. What percentage did Ogier get? Is this my worst week yet? 3%.
Well, here's the thing that's impressive. I'm telling you, when you go and you look at all the likes and all the things that are going with all the Hocevar tweets, posts, whatever it is, videos, it is pretty impressive how the fan base has engaged the Hocevar win. And I'm telling you, that is one of the most popular victories that we've had in a long time.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think that might be the most crushing victory of the year so far. That was huge. Alex Marquez was somebody else that we had down there as well. Congratulations to you, my friend. You continue your winning streak. I'll get one. One of these days, I'll get one. I'm going to have to pick like a cup driver or something. But anyway.
Keep at it.
We're going to... thanks, man. I'll get the hang of this motorsport thing one day. For my breakdown, we're going to take a look at something that Stephen A. Smith recently said, and I'm sure you will have seen what it was. And you know, we were in two minds. Do we even bring this up? Do we even talk about it? Is it just clickbait nonsense? But I think it does need talking about, because it is a well-worn misunderstanding that, you know, racing drivers aren't athletes. They just sit in the car and drive. And it's trotted out once every 4 or 5 years. And it is so hideously misplaced and such an archaic view and such it's just such a base misunderstanding of what race driving is, that, you know, anyone who thinks that getting in a race car and driving is like driving to the shops on a Sunday, you know, driving to see grandma on a Sunday afternoon. Like, anyone who thinks a race driver is not an elite athlete.
Here's the deal. With Stephen A. Smith, this guy has no clue about racing. And I don't mind people criticizing our sport or our drivers or our people. But if you don't know anything about racing, just keep your opinion to yourself, because you shouldn't even have an opinion if you don't know anything about a sport. And, you know, here's an interesting story from you. I started getting serious about my fitness, and so I went to the Polar folks who make the watches, and I said, hey, you know, I'd like to have a watch. I'd like to wear it in the car, and I did the first event, and it was I think I burned 3,200 calories. You know, it's a 500-mile race, so you're in the car for a long time. Hot day, didn't have a lot of cautions that day, and they called me the next week, and they said, hey, we're going to send you another watch. There's something wrong with that watch. So we think we got a bad reading. So
you're just a race driver. There's no way you're expending that much energy.
Yeah. So they sent me the watch the next week. We had a few more cautions, and I think I burned 2,400 calories the next week, because we had so many more moments to where your heart rate went back down during the caution periods. And so the guy from Polar calls me, and he says, hey, you know, the first one is correct. The second one confirmed everything that we had going on. And, you know, the only things that we see with that much of a calorie burn or constant heart rate are marathon runners. And he was totally caught off guard. And I think this is just an instance where, you know, Stephen A. Smith is looking for clicks on something he knows absolutely nothing about what he's talking about.
Yeah. And look, I tweeted him and said, you'd be very welcome to come on Speed on Fox and discuss this with me and Kevin. Shock, no response. But the invitation remains out there, Stephen, if you want to come on and discuss the physicality, the athleticism that it takes to be a racing driver. Our doors are always open for you to come on the show and talk about it. I'm sure we can get you some 2-seater laps in a NASCAR so you can feel what it is like to be in a NASCAR. We could get you 2-seater laps in an INDYCAR. And if your heart, lungs last out, if your head hasn't fallen off your neck by the end of it and you enjoyed it, maybe we get you some time in a simulator so you can see exactly what it is like, because the physical toll of driving is extreme. You are operating at 65 to 85% of H max for 3 hours. It's the same as running a marathon. I like to compare. So if you're say you're in an open wheel car, right? Imagine you're lying in the bath, okay, with your feet on the taps at the end, okay? So your feet are out in front of you, up like this, you have to have good core strength right here. And you're holding a weight in front of you. It's probably like 25 kilos of weight that you are turning. So you need good upper body strength all the way through. The only part of your body that isn't strapped into the car is your head, which has a helmet strapped onto it. And when you brake, or when you hit the throttle, or when you go into a speed change of direction, that head and that helmet is undergoing a change of G-force, sometimes up to 6G. When you are hurtling down a straight, a millimeter intolerance in the road because of the stiffness of the springs feels like a mallet smashing against the base of your spine. When you hit the brakes, your tear ducts, your eyes compress, your tears are pulled out of your eyes and splatter on the inside of your visor. When you turn into the corner, your internal organs are thrust to the other side of your body. Your lungs compress. You cannot breathe. You hit the throttle and everything then is thrown back in the seat. And that's one corner of maybe a 17, 18 corner circuit that you will circulate in about a minute and a half. You will do so 70 times in an hour and a half in heats exceeding, I'm going to talk centigrade here, 45, 50 centigrade in the cockpit, which is what we're talking about in Fahrenheit. That's like 120, 130 Fahrenheit. I think that's a good enough comparison.
Yep, 130
thank you.
130, 140.
You will do that 70 times in an hour and a half, racing millimeters away from other drivers, knowing that any small mistake isn't just the end of your race, but potentially your life. That is an elite sport. It is an extreme sport beyond the realms of any on earth that I can think of. And I challenge you to find a racing driver today who competes at the top level, who competes and is somebody that every driver in that championship looks to as the man or woman that they need to beat, who is not an elite athlete. You go and take a look at a Joseph Newgarden who will just smash out a high rocks. You go and take a look at any Formula One champion who can go and do a triathlon on their off weekends. You look at any elite driver, they are an elite athlete. Motor racing is not sitting on your ass and pushing a pedal and using a steering wheel to drive yourself to the shops. It is the most extreme of extreme sports. And I don't know how, in this day and age, there is an argument that it isn't.
Well, the unfortunate part about this is we have to say his name too many times.
We don't say it again. We won't say it again. I mean, it's borderline. It's a borderline contender for get the fuck off the racetrack, you stupid son of a bitch.
I like that.
It's right up there.
I agree. And that's what I hate about uneducated comments. When you know nothing about something, don't talk about it.
But what it has done is it has brought the motorsport community out en masse to say, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. And the responses to it, and the whole motorsport community coming out and saying, this is ludicrous. Thankfully, we do exist in an age where there is an immediate right to reply. And racers from around the world, not just involved in NASCAR, have come out and said, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut up, stay in your lane. We're athletes. And, you know.
I love it.
We're better for that. So
we're better for that. That's for sure.
We are. And now it's your turn, folks, at home to be a part of the show. You can reach us with your opinions, hopefully better than Stephen A. Smith's, at Speed on Fox across social media, or leave us a voicemail at 213-534-7107. And when you do, let us know your name and where you're tuning in from. But first, a mea culpa from me, because after a monstrous brain fart last week, because I had caught a red eye and hadn't had enough coffee and was just basically in idiot mode, when I was trying to think of IndyCar drivers, great IndyCar drivers who hadn't won the title, I said Michael Andretti. And of course, I was thinking Indy 500, because Michael never won the Indy 500. Of course, he was an IndyCar champion. Idiot features here, got myself all discombobulated over that. So my apologies to you, dear viewer. My apologies, moreover, to Michael Andretti. Here, though, is our first question of the week, which I hope not to screw up the answer to.
This is Ethan calling from Kansas. My question for both of you is, if you could build a racetrack, 1, which type of track would you build? Road course, street course, oval, sport track, mile and a half, super speedway, etc. 2, where in the world would you build the racetrack? And 3, which racing series would you want to race there?
Great question.
Yeah,
I
that
love
is a great
that.
question. Yeah, that's a great question. And look, I was not a huge fan of the NASCAR street course, but I love the street courses for the fact that you can take them anywhere. Will, you're taking it to Washington D.C.
Yes.
You're taking it to Miami this weekend for an F1 race, and you know where I would take it is the Pacific Northwest, because there are a lot of race fans up there, and we've been
Yes.
racing up there a lot. And I would take a street course and plant it right in the middle of Seattle or Denver or somewhere up in that area, because INDYCAR could race on it, we could race NASCAR on it, you could race F1 on it, and you get to a bunch of race fans that don't have it.
Hallelujah. That's beautiful. Praise be. I think that's perfect, mate. Absolutely perfect. I love the idea of going to Seattle. Big Seahawks fan here, so got no issue with that at all. What would I love to do? Really, I'd like to build a go-kart track, and I would put it in my back garden. But the wife's never going to allow that. So I'm with you on street tracks. Like, I've always wanted to see open wheel cars driving through London, down the Mall in front of Buckingham Palace. We just had the London Marathon at the weekend. So you can clearly shut down the streets, and you can clearly, mark them out for a day, and people will turn out. And you can race in front of Buckingham Palace because people run. So let's just make it 200 times faster. Time for our next voicemail.
Yeah, hey, this is Sean from Seattle. I know you guys love yourself a Mount Rushmore question, so I'm going to ask your Mount Rushmore of endurance racers.
Oh, man.
This is a good one.
Yeah,
I love Mount Rushmore.
This is not a good one for me. Look, the
okay.
endurance piece of it is tough for me. I don't have a huge background in that, but the one guy that I would put on it wouldn't, and you tell me if I'm wrong, is probably Scott Pruitt. Is that fair?
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'd take that.
Yeah. You?
So you cannot talk endurance racing without talking Tom Christensen. Tom Christensen still is, because it's still around. But when he was racing, he was known as Mr. Le Mans, right? 9 times a winner at Le Mans. You don't do that unless you are someone exceptional. And Tom, for me, I think he could have raced anything. At his peak, he could have done open wheel. He should have been in Formula One. I would have loved to have seen him try like the Indy 500 or something like that. But as an endurance racer, Tom Christensen, head and shoulders above anybody else. If you roll back to the 60s, 70s, Jackie Ickx was a total legend. Similar time frame, Derek Bell, another driver who just monstered endurance racing back in the day. And I think somebody who sometimes, and he shouldn't be overlooked, but Derek Bell for me is one of the all-time greats from endurance racing. And if we want to go a little bit closer to now, I'm kind of looking at those like 90s, early 2000s glory days, someone like Emanuele Pirro, Frank Biela. They were just like hats off legends. So I think
the endurance cars were
like
so cool in those days.
Oh, dude, amazing!
Gosh,
like
almighty,
properly
fast.
Amazing.
Yes.
But I would say I think Christensen, Ickx, and Bell are like your three, probably your 3 non-negotiables. And beyond that, take Pruitt or take a Biela or a Pirro. But yeah, they're for me like Tom Christensen. Tom Christensen for me, head and shoulders, one of the greatest drivers of all time. Across categories, across generations, Tom is legendary. We have a social media question from John Emerson on X, who says, why can't drivers be given the ability to make wing adjustments on the fly? How would this be different than adjusting the weight jacker? It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'm going to use our adjustable track bar that we used to have in NASCAR as a great example. Everybody's like, man, if I could just fix my car, I'd be able to pass that guy in front of me. Well, guess what? Everybody fixed their car and they all ran about the same speed. And you want the deficiencies in the car to show up, that a driver has to have that throughout the run, because that's how you have passing. The more adjustments that you give the driver inside the car, the more perfect that they can make it, and the more they become the same.
And that's it. The more you can change once you're in the car, actually, the more boring it becomes, because everybody can dial out the imperfections in their car. There used to be a thing in Formula One. You weren't allowed to have a movable aerodynamic device on the car. So if you were able to change the wing from inside the car, then that would be considered a movable aerodynamic device, and you wouldn't be able to run that. But of course, that all changed with the drag reduction system, because when you open that rear wing, you got the speed overrun on the car in front, and then everybody hated that because overtaking just became too easy because you'd essentially changed the wing level. Now you have it in Formula One with straight mode and corner mode, where when you're on the straight, the wings go flat, and then you get into the corners and they go back up again. So you kind of already do have wing changes in that element. But if you're talking about changing like the degree of the angle of the wings kind of in race, I like that you have to save that to the pit stops, make a wing adjustment,
I agree.
couple of turns of front wing, wait for that, overcome it in the moment, but then you get to change it at the stop, because then it makes the stops really important as well.
Yeah,
so
I agree
I
with
like
that.
that we can't.
Yep. I'm with you.
Cool. We are agreed. We are agreed. Keep those questions coming at Speed on Fox on social media, or give us a call on the voicemail at 213-534-7107. And as always, and when you do, let us know your name, where you're tuning in from. Yeah, that's it. Kevin, which one for you this week?
Well, I like the where would you build the racetrack question, personally.
I like that we're always on the same wavelength.
I love it.
Yes.
We
totally
actually agree.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, the race. I mean,
Ethan,
we
you
don't
win.
agree on driver of the week ever, but when it comes to the questions, I totally agree. Yeah. The design of the racetrack and where would you have it? Brilliant.
Well,
right.
the
Buckle
great
up,
part
folks.
is
It's
Ethan from
oh, sorry.
Kansas.
I'll go.
Ethan from Kansas is going to get some bobbleheads, Will, and we have already shipped the first batch of them.
It took us long enough.
Yeah. Well, they had to. It's a lot of work to make these faces look presentable.
This is it, man.
Yeah. It's what we've got.
A work of art, a thing of beauty, is a joy forever. Enjoy your bobbleheads. I hope that they when they find a happy home, do please take a photograph and send them in to us. I'm very excited to see them. It is time for the replay review, where Kevin and I dive into the biggest highlights and most chaotic wrecks. Apparently this one involves SVG taking his dog to Talladega.
Tri-oval yesterday. First off, has he embraced the trip to Talladega now? And second, are we going to have to be careful walking through there the rest of the weekend?
Yeah, I got told off. Security run out and told us off because he took a shit on the lawn, and that wasn't real good, but I picked it up. But yeah, it's right. It's kind of tradition at this point. When he comes here, he does that. But yeah, it's cool to have the dog here. It's a long weekend, especially when it's raining, so just chilling out.
I heard they made you put him on a leash, too. I thought I heard security guys talking about that.
Yeah, he was a real danger to everyone.
Ronald is the best dog in the world. And Ronald and Shane go on track walks pretty much everywhere that they go when Ronald gets to go to the track. And he takes a crap on every infield or at some point during every walk at every race facility. So Ronald is one of the best dogs that I've ever been around. So the fact that they were giving him grief, but I hope Ronald took a big shit in the middle of the infield at Talladega because we know he
Love
did.
that.
But he loves the infield grass.
Perfect. Say no more. Right. What is this? Oh, I saw a clip of this. This is pretty awesome. So I need to know more about this. Jason Kelsey, apparently, at Talladega, part of the crew.
Yes, and he was there working on the Corey Day car this weekend during the O'Reilly Series race. And some guys just have that knack for being in the right place at the right time, winding up with a new deal, TV, great football player, everything that happens. Jason Kelsey goes to victory lane with Corey Day on his maiden voyage here at a NASCAR race on the pit crew. So just another win for Jason Kelsey.
I absolutely love that. Good luck, Charm. Will he be back? Because it was on the fuel hose, right? It was on the fuel.
Yeah, he was actually handing the second can over the wall. So he actually participated in the pit stop, and so being able to drive down or walk down there and celebrate with Corey Day during his victory celebration, and really he got it. He got the experience from start to finish. So we had another football player there this weekend too. Marshawn Lynch was in the infield this weekend. He had such a good time at Daytona. Came back to Talladega to experience the party.
Let's go. Let's go.
That's right.
Love that. Right, MotoGP. Crazy save from one of MotoGP's new boys, himself a World Superbike champion. No shortage of skill on display from Toprak Ratsgatlioglu. I love that boy. I absolutely love that boy. And that is a save and a half.
I've never seen that happen. Obviously, you've watched a lot more MotoGP than I have, but that's amazing.
Yeah, monstrous. He's a dude. I love Toprak. Yeah. Top man. And this last one is a throwback, April the 23rd, 2003. Mario Andretti, aged, I think 63 at the time.
I remember this.
Flipped the car in testing. He ran over a piece of debris on track. He was out there practicing. He was actually getting ready to qualify one of his son's cars. Hadn't been in a car for, God, years. And I remember talking to him about it, and he said he remembers going over the piece of debris, and then the next thing he knew, he was going towards his own hospitality suite. And he saw his hospitality suite at the top of the grandstands and was like, oh, God, this is going to hurt. Flipped it, got out, I think had a cut on his chin, literally like walked out of the car. They were like, do you want the ambulance? He's like, no, I'll walk, I'm fine. And he was absolutely like cool as a cucumber, would have gotten qualified if they'd needed him to. But that's Mario. Give him a race car and he'll go drive it.
Typical Mario Andretti reaction, that's for sure.
Yeah, what a legend. What a legend. Right, sadly, Mario Andretti will not be racing this weekend, but here's what you need to have on your radar in the final lap. The NASCAR Cup Series takes center stage at Texas Motor Speedway for a high-speed night race under the lights. Catch the Cup stars battling for traction in the Texas heat Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Formula One returns after its month-long hiatus, and it lands in South Florida for the Crypto.com Miami Grand Prix, racing around the iconic Hard Rock Stadium. It should be a great weekend, should be a great race, as Formula One has a lot of changes to run through, and it is a sprint weekend. The NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series heads to the Lone Star State for the Andes Frozen Custard 340. Expect high intensity in one of NASCAR's most exciting events. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series hits the high-speed D-shaped oval at Texas for the SpeedyCash.com 250. The wide repaved surface built for aggressive passing and drafting guarantees a wild show. And finally, the momentum continues for the All-In as the fourth installment hits the grid this Thursday, and it is the series' best episode yet. This week, the cameras head to the streets of Long Beach for a deep dive into the high-stakes world of Arrow McLaren, pulling back the curtain on the third seat saga. We follow Pato O'Ward, Christian Lundgaard, and Nolan Siegel as they navigate huge pressure under the watchful eye of Zach Brown. You can catch the full story this Thursday on the INDYCAR on Fox YouTube channel. Kevin, what will you be watching this week, my friend?
Well, I'm going to be buried right in the middle of Texas Motor Speedway from Friday on, watching all three series at the racetrack there. And I'm really intrigued by the F1 cars. I can't wait to see what happens in Miami with the race this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'm going to be in Miami for, I think, 36 hours, Wednesday, Thursday, then flying home. One final weekend with the family before flying to Indianapolis because I'm then away for a 5-week chunk. So I'm going to make the most of my my time at home with the kids. But the reason I won't be at home, as I said, is that long run in May. The incredible month of May that we have in IndyCar starts, of course, with the Indy GP. Then we've got Indy 500 qualifying, the Indy 500 itself. Then we roll to Detroit. Then we roll to Gateway. 5 weeks, back-to-back action. Cannot wait to get that started.
Sounds
but
like
that
fun.
is, folks, sadly, It will be. It's going to be a great one. It's going to be a really, really great one, mate. But that is, folks, sadly, all we've got time for this week and on this episode. But there's still plenty more to come this week. Coming up on Wednesday, we hear from Robert Wickens, a phenomenal race driver, a really lovely bloke. Had the pole and led at Long Beach, but of course his story, as we know, so much more, so much deeper. And if you don't know, or even if you do, please tune in. It was a lovely interview, lovely chat with one of racing's good guys. If you're enjoying the show, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, follow us on social media, and jump into the comments to let us know what you thought and what you want to see next. Thanks as always to our friends at Poet. Poet produces high-octane bioethanol delivering maximum performance with zero carbon intensity. You can't beat zero. Kevin Harvick, I'm Will Buxton. Thanks for watching Speed with Harvick and Buxton, fueled by Poet. Now, as always, let's send you out with some of the best wrecks of the week.
Thrown away and Bolas is in the wall right after contact. Right in front of the pack, Blaney's around, Logano's around, they're all wrecking. This is the big one. That's the whole field.
Oh, Marquez has gone down. Marquez has taken a huge tumble in the fast right-handers. It's over. There's not going to be a first win here in 2019 for Marquez.
There goes Mayer, out of line. If the caution comes out, the race is over.
All those pushes, you know, we didn't see this all day. Cruz, Harrison Burton, the back tires come off the ground. That's a huge, almost flush hit with the outside wall.
Triple, hard hit in the wall for Ty Gibbs. I'm wondering if that had a lot of damage on the front. It almost looked like a right front. Eric Jones goes for a wild ride after contact and keeps it off the wall.